Hello, welcome to Property Spy. This is the channel where we appraise properties from an investor standpoint. We're going to look at a mixed-use unit in Manchester today. We're going to assess all of the contracts and all of the tenancy agreements belonging to that particular property, and we'll look at whether it's a deal from an investor standpoint or whether it's not a deal. Now today, as I say, we're headed to Manchester, but before we do that, the page you are looking at now is valuation.io. This is a tool that we use to appraise properties, to assess them, and to make sure that they meet the criteria that we've set as investors. Now, if we go into the dashboard, you see very quickly the list of properties. You can see a bit of analytics on the previous properties that have been appraised. And when you go in there, when you click on appraisals, you see all your previous appraisals, and it will show you what the asking prices and your maximum offer for each one, and that's what the tool helps you do. But today we're going to look at this property, this mixed-use unit in Manchester. It has 4 commercial units and 3 residential units. Now, what's the deal here? The guide price is £600,000 for Manchester, or this part of Manchester, Gorton. It might be a lot, it might not be a lot. We don't care. We're going to do our figures ourselves and make sure that it meets our criteria, or they meet our criteria, every single one on figures. Now, just looking through the pictures, that's where you start. You look at the pictures. Okay, there's a sofa, 3-piece, 3-seat there. All right, fine. It looks quite small in here. Kitchen's really compact. It looks like they've squeezed in as many things as they could into the space. Fine. It's going to auction 30th March. Okay, the bed's really close to the wall and the TV is there, but somebody appears to be living there, so it's not all bad. We look at the rental income. In here it says it's 60,200 per year. Fine, that's quite a lot. What was the guide price again? £600,000. Okay, so that's already more than a 10% yield, so that already ticks that box. Stairway upstairs. And this is the floor plan. It's always nice to have a floor plan so you have an idea as to what you're purchasing or what you're looking at. Things that stand out from this floor plan. One is, the first thing is, where are the toilets? Okay, there's a bathroom here, there's a bathroom there, and then there's a tiny bathroom in there. So you have to make sure that what the plan shows you matches what's on ground, and that's why this statement is here. That's for identification purposes only. It's for you to do your own due diligence. Just go out there or send somebody out there to measure up the flats and make sure that they meet your criteria. Fine. Okay, all looks okay. Now we need to look at the paperwork quite quickly. The whole point of this exercise really is to see if this is worth looking at any further. So there are high level things you should check. Make sure the property is a property and has all the walls. Make sure that the details that you have on the page, on the site, match what you want for your investment criteria. Then definitely get a solicitor to review the legal pack. Now, with this particular property, we do have access to some of the legal documents, and some of the things to look at to begin with are, well, it says the 3 flats are rented. Now you want to see the tenancy agreements. You also want to see the EPCs, because the EPCs will give you an idea as to the size of the individual flats. Okay, so in this video, we're not going to go through every single document. But when you have this many documents, make sure you read every single one. The special conditions, definitely have a look. Well, let's click that and download it. Let's see what that comes back with. Okay, so special conditions. So it tells us the solicitors we'll be dealing with, the seller solicitor. It gives us a price for the units. My Happy Home Growing Limited. I think that's the estate agent. So this one here. Then the price of each rental accommodation. Okay, so if it's in here, then it definitely matches the paperwork that they would have submitted with the sale, so the sale pack. Okay, on completion, the buyer is to pay the seller's auction cost. Okay, so that's something to bear in mind. 1.5% of your purchase price. So that's another cost to tack on. And on completion, the buyer shall pay to the seller, in addition to the price, the sum of $1,200 plus VAT and disbursements of £6 towards the seller's legal costs. So this 5.2 is different from 5.1. Okay, so add that to your cost. So if you pay £600,000 for the property, you do have other costs to bear in mind. And also think about the stamp duty, the purchase cost, your legal fees, and all of those things need to be added. Okay, but for the purposes of this, we'd assume legal costs, whatever, 10%. Oh no, that'll be 60 grand. That'll be much less. But think about the stamp duty and your legal fees. Okay, all right, so what's this? I downloaded this earlier. So this is your electrical certificate, which is fine. What else do we have? I downloaded the EPC. So as you can see on this one, so this one is of a concern to me. 33 square meters, that's fairly small. This is not even a one bed flat. So 33 square meters is fairly tiny. You look at the EPC figure of E, and it says potentially you could get it up to D. And with government plans to even make this more stringent, it's something that you need to bear in mind. So this statement here is very pertinent. So if the property is rated F or G, it cannot be let. So you need to think about that. Let's look at the other flat, 45 square meters. Okay, that's much better, much better. That we can deal with. This one's 52 square meters. That's perfect. I don't know how many bedrooms this one has actually. Let's see. Right. Let's say on here. Flat 1, flat. Okay, so that's interesting. If you went into Valuation and you did this appraisal, you would be able to get the EPC and the number of bedrooms, but I presume they're all one beds. So what's this? Okay, so this is building control for what exactly? For subdivision of ground floor shop into 4 units. Okay, that's interesting. So they were all one big unit previously, and well, that's good. That's really good. Because you see, now that there's 4 units, I think it's made it quite a lot easier to rent out each unit on a commercial rent. So the other thing to bear in mind is that the tenancy agreements show monthly payments for the residential as well as the commercial. So that's unusual, but perhaps not so unusual with smaller units and with certain types of tenants, with commercial tenants. So you've got a barber shop, you've got a small estate agent, and 2 other units which I can't remember. But let's look at the tenancy agreement. Okay, this looks like something that was just rushed and put together quickly, but maybe it's the landlord that's letting it themselves, and often the tenancy agreements tend to be fairly simple and just really straight to the point, which can be a good thing if you need to challenge anything, because then the text and the content is clear. But beware, because sometimes these really should I say poorly prepared tenancy agreements, that's an assumption, might miss some clauses that may come back to bite you in the back. So just think about that. But all in all, calculations show that the total rental from this property is around 60,200, 60,300. So it's not bad for what the property is offering. Okay, so we've got what, 600 grand on the property sale. You've got the different shops. You've got a hair and beauty salon, you've got estate agent, then you've got a barber's right at the back. So that's not too bad. Aesthetic clinic, £800. So it seems to me like this rent is being paid. Obviously you get your solicitor to verify everything before you go into the auction. Now there's no point looking at this if there's no value, and the fact is we don't know what's on that side across the road from this property, but what we do know is that everything is let and everything's fully occupied. So what more value could you have or could you gain from this property? Now when you go to appraise this, it's more than likely that the valuer will value the commercial units on a yield basis and value the residential units on a normal buy-to-let basis. And on that basis, a lot of the units put together, this is an assumption here, but a lot of the units, all of the value put together would mean that you have a very good income here. Very, very good income. And depending on your lender, you might be able to refinance and take out quite a lot of the money that you've put in as a deposit. And that's purely because if you purchase this at £60,000, £600,000, and you're making £60,200 or £60,300 every year, then on a yield basis, depending on what yields this area will be allowed to command, you might be able to get this finance at 8%, or get the lender to lend at up to 8% yield. And if you did that on £60,000, then you're looking at 60,200 divided by 8%. Yeah, you're looking at a valuation of £752,500. So that's not bad. And if you financed 752,000 at 25%, yeah, you end up with 564,375. Yeah. So if you purchased it for 600 grand and you got lending of up to 564 or 565, then all you've really left in the property is 35 grand. And you've left in 35 grand and you're making a total income of £60,000. So that is not bad at all. Okay. But of course, this is based on you purchasing the property for £600,000 and finding a lender that would blend all of the income from the upper units and the commercial units and give you a yield value, or allow a yield value of about 8%. I mean, there are places in London you can even get less than that. So that is an option here. The other option as well is to look at title splitting. So the commercial units would remain commercial, obviously, but you can split them into separate titles and see if you can flog them separately. The residential, you can certainly look at splitting them off into separate titles and valuing them and financing them or capitalizing them as separate entities. Of course, that means more legal fees and a bit more complexity, but if done properly, this could be a very good earner for you. Now let's look at the Gorton area in Manchester. Just make sure that the sort of figures we're talking about here are actually realistic. So what we do is we look at the M1870E properties for sale. M1870E. Don't just take everything at face value. You have to verify. Okay, so there's nothing in this area. Let's go a quarter of a mile. Get 395 for a whole building. Semi-attached 260. 170 for a terrace house. Okay, so the values are not that massive. 120. If we go half a mile, quarter of a mile, this is fairly far out. So depend on this on these figures a bit less, but yeah, this looks more like non-central Manchester. Okay, so 135,000. What do we have by way of commercial units? Area, let's get it out. It's nothing. It's a good sign. Potentially, it means if that place is a busy road for an estate agent to be there, potentially it is, then there's nothing on the market, then it means that there's demand, or potentially means that there is demand for those types of properties. And you've got here 650 per calendar month, where this is further out in reddish, not Gorton. Okay, so that's not too bad. Knowing the area would really help on this occasion. Definitely understanding how commercial works. Just phone up an estate agent in the area that knows the area and speak to them. Potentially speak to the estate agent that's renting in that building. So that would make a difference. Let's see what there is to buy in terms of commercial for sale. Let's go. So this is what you do. Okay, so there's the one we're interested in, 625 guide price. Interesting. Doesn't it say 600 on their website? That's good. Okay, so that's definitely worth bearing in mind. So the figures are not identical. So there is something there. Perhaps. Okay, same agent, 600, 625. I wonder why. This is a different listing because the text looks different. There's the same agent. This one's by the auction company, and that's by perhaps normal commercial agent. So that could mean that if you offered 625, they would let you have it. Interesting. This one's 750. Much bigger unit. Let's see what this is. $75,000 per year. Okay. Alright, so that seems to suggest that that's the sort of price you should expect in that area. But it seems like a fairly busy high road. Okay, so to my mind, you've got residential up there. Fantastic. I think this is not bad. I do wonder what's over the fence though on that side. It just makes me... where's street view? Let's do street view. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Let's see what's there. Which way to go now? For the high street. Okay, we've got that. Okay. Going through the no entry sign. Okay. Oh, this is not bad, you know. I like this road. I wonder how much passing traffic there is, because this is quite a busy road. And you've got... what's this? Say Subway. There'll be a supermarket there on Aldi or something. But... seems the contracts that were signed were signed recently, or as recently as last year, and they still want to stay there, so it is good. Hairdressers, barber salon, they all would remain on the high street regardless of what happens to the high street, so it's not bad. 600,000, 60 grand. I can't see much else in terms of valuation that's worth looking at any further and giving an idea as to whether it's a deal or not a deal. So this is the property, 600,000. Interesting. Okay, so that's all I've got for you, but I think this one's a very interesting opportunity. At 600,000 is fine. We know that the asking price on for a normal commercial lender for this property is 625. So that's still within a 10% yield range, albeit just. Think about your purchase costs. Think about getting somebody better qualified to have a look at the contracts and make sure that the tenancy agreements are also valid and that the rent was being paid or has been paid for the last few months since the tenants moved in. If there have been any issues, you need to think about that. Think about the boiler, the security in the property, the windows, all things that could possibly go wrong in a rented property. Think about your cost of finance and potentially think about refinancing afterwards. So, from Property Spy, thank you for listening and happy investing.